Okay. You will view many images of anatomical parts, and those images will be depicted in anatomical planes. And so there will be some anatomical parts that will be depicted in the coronal plane. And the coronal plane would separate the body into anterior and posterior parts. And I call that the bagel cut. The median or sagittal plane separates your body from left to right. And horizontal or transverse divides your body from the superior portion from the inferior portion. When you are studying an anatomical part or parts or systems, I need you, while you're studying, to look at different images and look at different images depicted in different planes. So your exams or your worksheets will not depict necessarily the same anatomical part or depiction or pictures that you find in your PowerPoint or in your book. So it will be necessary for you to find other pictures. You can go to Google Images and study different systems or anatomical parts in different views or different planes. Does that make sense? Is that clear? Okay, thank you. It really will be necessary for you to study every day, to at least spend a minimum of 30 minutes looking over the information. I have found that over the years, students do not fare well if they attempt to cram for this information. It's a lot of information. There is a way of you to chat through eLearn to do group studies if you'd like to do that. But I would encourage you to study daily. Okay, so this is a picture of the respiratory system in a coronal plane. And so you are seeing the anterior portion of, actually you're seeing the medial portion of because the lungs have been cut coronally. This is a transverse depiction of your vocal folds, as though you're looking through an instrument that is placed through your nostrils, your nares, down your pharynx, and you're looking at a picture that would be in a horizontal plane in your throat. Sagittal would be if this picture is if you're slicing the body into two halves, left and right. And so this is a sagittal view. Questions? Okay, let's look at different types of tissue that we will talk about when I'm describing different anatomical parts. Epithelium are sheets of tissue that typically cover external surfaces of the body or external surfaces of anatomical parts. Pleural membrane for instance, covers the lobes of your lungs. And mucous membrane is pretty much seen in many are exposed tissue that you see within your mouth, within your ears. Connective tissue is tissue that binds structures together, such as ligaments, fascia, tendons, bone, and cartilage. Muscles are the principal media for movement. They can be striated or smooth. Nerves are specialized cells that have electrochemical properties to them in order for them to perform their functions. And when we speak of vascular, we're speaking of fluid tissue, or more specifically blood, platelets, and plasma. These are examples of epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue. Questions? Okay. Basic principles of muscles. I'm going to attempt to see if I can play this. So basic principles are in a different color, has an underline, and so there is a link to a video attached to it. Let me see if I'm able to do that. So I'm going to go back to sharing. Okay, are you able to see and hear the video? Okay, yes, there will be I'm recording the class. I'm sorry, I can see it, but no, I stopped playing it. Okay, let me cut it on and then see if you are still able to. Oh, that's not good. Where'd it go? There it is. Before I do that, I need to make sure you. No sound? Okay. Okay. So it's not going to, I thought I'd try. I haven't had much success with that in the past. Okay. It would be great if you guys do that on your own. I'm going to try it one more way and then copy and see if this works. Okay, are you able to hear this one? Great. Can everyone see the PowerPoint now? Are there any questions? Yes. They're involuntary. I think it was not necessarily saying that was the only one. It was just an example of one, I think. Okay, so muscles pull. They never push unless they're pulling one structure that is pushing on another. They typically pull in a straight line. There are some exceptions, and we'll talk about that when we get to the larynx. For every force pulling a muscle in one direction, there must be an opposing muscle pulling it in an opposite direction. So if you have a body part that has a muscle that's pulling it in one direction, in order for it to return to its place of origin, there must be a muscle that pulls it back. Okay, this is information, really an overview. Can you provide an example? Okay. Hold on just a second. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So for instance, when we get to the larynx, there are 5 muscles in the larynx. Only one pull the larynx apart. There are 2 that bring them together during for vibration and for other purposes, but there is one that will pull it back. I'm trying to think of another example. Of one that you would know, that I would actually, that's not part of the speech and hearing mechanism, that I would actually know the correct muscle for. So, okay, thank you. Okay, so in order to, we call this the speech overlay. So, and these are all the systems that are involved in the production and the reception of speech. And so in this class, we're going to start with the respiratory system. And it is its function is to provide power or air pressure to set your vocal folds into vibration, which is part of the phonatory system. When your vocal folds are set into vibration, they produce a sound that is transmitted through your articulatory system, which is your throat or your pharynx and your oral cavity and nasal cavity. Your articulatory system molds or filters that sound into specific speech sounds. Once that sound has, or word or sentence has been articulated, it is received by the auditory system, and that information is taken to the nervous system for decoding and comprehension of the information, and the nervous system is also responsible for initiating and planning the production of the next utterance. And the next utterance would require the respiratory system to perform its function. Let me see. Okay, let's take a look at a video that can give you more information about that. Yep, I saved that one. Okay, go back. Okay, questions so far? Okay, so let's take a closer look. Let's start with the nervous system, and that will be one organ that's responsible for speech production. All of the videos that are linked into the PowerPoint, depending on the PowerPoint, will show up a different color. For this particular PowerPoint style, is purple. Yeah. Okay, so the nervous system is the speech organ that's responsible for output processing and central processing, meaning that information that the ear receives, it decodes that information, sends it to another part of the brain that actually applies meaning. And so that is the speech function of the nervous system. Once meaning is established, and if the receiver wants to speak or give a response, the brain will formulate the language, encode it, plan what movements of the body are to be made in order to articulate it. So, for this speech organ, it is the nervous system. Its process is central and input-output processing. And its function is comprehension, decoding, formulating, and encoding. So all the functions moving up the triangle under the banner of the nerve. Yes, sir. So let's look at the lungs. Okay, so the nervous system is responding for formulating language. It also encodes it. It plans how to execute the articulation of that language. And first, it must send the signal down to the muscles of the lungs. So this speech organ that's part of the production of sound, is the lungs. Its process, its respiration, and its function with regard to speech is providing power supply, or it functions as an air compressor. And so when we speak, in order for our vocal folds to vibrate, we speak on exhalation. So we use carbon dioxide as we exhale to set our vocal folds into vibration. So the speech organ is the lungs, its process is respiration, and its function is a power supply, or to function as an air compressor. The carbon dioxide that is released from the lungs will flow through the next speech organ that's responsible for speech production, which is your larynx. The process involved in producing speech is called phonation. So the larynx uses phonation in order to generate a sound. This sound is, if we could measure it at the level of the larynx, has not been modified or molded or filtered to sound like any specific speech sound. It is just a broad band or a wide range of frequencies that are generated as the vocal folds vibrate. Those vibrations flow into the vocal tract, which includes your throat, and we are going to refer to that as your pharynx, and into your oral and nasal cavities. There, depending on where we move our articulators, our tongue, our teeth, will depend on how we mold the speech sound that was generated by the larynx. So the sound generated by the larynx flows through the vocal tract. The process that involves speech is called articulation, and articulation is the speech filtering or molding as a result of different resonating areas or resonators within the voice, within the vocal tract. So all of those systems are part of speech production. And once speech is articulated and expressed, it is received by the ear. And I'll go back to that last slide in just a minute. The ear receives the acoustical sound powered by the lungs, generated by the larynx, filtered and modified, articulated by the articulatory system. The acoustical properties of that is received and transmitted to the brain. That process is called audition, and the function of the ear is to receive and detect speech. So it is a speech reception detector. That sound is transmitted to the brain, where the function of decoding and then comprehending what was received takes place back in the nervous system. So that's how that's why we refer to it as a speech circle. Questions? Sure. We'll go back. This is not anything specific. One more? Okay. Articulatory system, is that the one? Okay, the parts aren't actually listed here, but I would be happy to do that for you. Yes, the tongue, lips, your pharynx, your hard palate, your soft palate, your nasal cavity, your teeth, those are your basic parts. And we will, and you will learn about the different anatomical parts of each of these anatomical parts and their function with regard to articulation or the physiology. This is just some information, and I'm not going to hold you responsible for it, but in order for speech to be received, it must be loud enough. That person must have hearing that is good enough for reception. And we need speech as soon as it is articulated for it to fade away. We don't need it to linger like in a like an echo in a cave. That would make it very difficult for us to understand speech if the last thing said was still audible. Each word that we speak, which is language, and we will not talk about the meaning of speech. We're just in this class talking about the production of it. You will take another class that language development that will talk more about language. And so in the English language, we have 40 distinct speech sounds. And so the sound that's generated from the larynx as a part of phonation will be filtered or modified within the vocal tract into 40 distinct speech sounds. Any questions so far? Let me go back and see if I can switch the polling back. Okay. Are you able to see the poll? The options for multiple choice? Okay, so what view is, so 1 would be A, 2 would be B, 3 would be C, and 4 would be D. What view is depicted in this image? Okay, great. Actually, most of you said lateral, and that's true. We're looking at the side of the body, and the person that said B, we are looking at, with respect to the entire body, the head would be superior. So I would refer to that more as cranial as opposed to superior, because in looking at this particular picture, the hair could also be superior to the neck. Does that make sense? Okay, let's try another one. Which plane is depicted in this picture? A, B, or C? So think about how the body is being divided. Okay, so if we're looking at our ear and we're able to look into the head, we're looking towards the front. And so this would be coronal. So we're actually seeing the anterior portion of the head versus the posterior portion. Yes, well, yes, I can. And it's okay. What this does is just gives me an idea. I'm not grading you. It just helps me understand if I need to be clearer or clarify or repeat the information. So no one's being judged. It gives me an idea of if I need to stay on a subject or move ahead. It also gives you an idea of possibly what you need to work on too. Okay. Let's do the next one. Which speech process occurs in the vocal tract? Okay. The vocal tract is responsible for articulation. Now, the vocal tract includes your pharynx. Your larynx rests below your pharynx. And it's responsible for phonation. But the vocal tract is superior to your larynx. And it flows into your oral cavity and nasal cavity. So the answer for this would be B. Respiration would be lungs. Phonation would be your larynx. Audition would be your ear. Take a stab. Which speech function exists in the larynx? Okay, great. The majority, yeah. It would be sound generator. So sound is generated within the larynx as it is set into vibration by the power supply or air compressor function of the respiratory system. Questions? Okay. All right, now, this is the option. We have one PowerPoint to go. It is very short. We can take a break, continue, and then come back in 10 minutes and finish the second PowerPoint. Or we can continue on. What is your pleasure? Okay. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, folks. Let me encourage you after the lecture to either go to a chat room, read, do the exercises in the book for the remaining portion of the class. I rarely hold class for 4 hours, although I've been told that I must hold you for 4 hours. And so for the remaining part, I will assign you to study or to do the exercises that are in the book after class is over, or after the lecture is over. Okay, let's look at additional anatomical terms. And again, a complete list is in a Word document in the content area. Let me show you the list. This is the list that I need you to know. And so that's something that you can work on tonight. But you'll be assessed on this during the first exam. Not this weekend, but the upcoming weekend. The definitions of all of these are located in your book. If you don't have the book yet, I'm sure you can find it online. So this is just a few of them. Okay, so some of them are prefixes. What would you anticipate dis meaning? Without or bad. Okay. What about, as in you will learn later about disorders, call it with regard to dysarthria, dysphagia, abnormal swallowing, dysphonia. Now, all the terms that are on the Word document. The book had many more. Yes. So only the ones that are within the Word document and that are listed on the last slide. I've selected the ones that we will most likely encounter for the rest of the term. Hypo is under or underperforming, less. Hypothyroidism, hypoglycemia, hypothalamus is actually an anatomical part that is under the thalamus. Hypothyroidism is an underperforming thyroid. Hyper is excessive. Hypertension, too much tension. Hypertrophy, again, too much tension. But hyper is excessive or more. Now, you also have some suffixes. Osis is inflammation. Inflammation of the lungs or the bronchioles is tuberculosis, although tuberculosis can occur in different parts of the body. Neurosis would be inflammation of a nerve. Ectomy is removal. And so as a speech-language pathologist, you will work with individuals who have had their larynx removed, a laryngectomy. And agnosis is the knowledge of. So diagnosis would be the knowledge of the disorder. Prognosis would be the knowledge of an outcome as the result of a disorder. Questions? There are some general terms that we will use. These terms are mostly found for this class when we talk about the nervous system. A fissure is a deep impression. So this would be a fissure here, a fissure of the cortex. A sulcus or sulci are a less shallow fissure. These terms are used in other parts of the body, just not the ones that we are covering with the exception of the nervous system. And a gyrus is, or gyri, is the outermost portion of the cerebrum of your brain. So again, these are the ones that you are responsible for. You may use your book, an app, Google, and you'll be responsible for those on your first exam. And so these are some of the anatomical terms that we will definitely use throughout the semester. Are there any questions about what we've covered tonight, about the course? If you have a microphone, you are welcome to use it. I would go to Google. Google is the best resource. Once you Google the term, select a web page or a link, a definition that is easy for you to remember. Don't be surprised if your book comes and it is bound by a spiral binder. The book, because it's very wide, does not stay intact very well. But it's just, this is an undergraduate sophomore level class. There's an older version? I'm not even aware that there was an older version. There's an older version before 1986. You see a 1991 version? Huh. Sure. Now, everything that I'm referring to will be based on the 86 book. Did not know that. Okay. I guess I've used this book for maybe 7 years and had no idea. I'm sorry, but this is the Word document list. Yes, from the content area. Yes, Bradley. This I just took a picture of it and inserted it into the PowerPoint. Any other questions? Will be locked once we leave the meeting. The discussions, let's go back, are open for a period of time. But the date it's closed should be not only on the calendar, but will be in the discussion area. So the discussions are under communication. And so, for instance, the first one is not a required one. It's asking you to log in. Can you see the it's your login? That's odd. That your login that's kind of odd. I'm not sure. That's really not sure. Let me share then. Okay, are you able to see this? Okay. So the first discussion is optional. It's just giving me an idea of a lot of students of what you think about having this course as a requirement and why you think it applies to your training as to be a speech-language pathologist. The remaining 5 are the ones that you will be assessed on. So you're welcome to choose to do this right after we get off, finish with the lecture. But the first one is not one that is mandatory for you to complete. Are there any other questions? When you are completing a discussion, I would like for you to go back in during the week and comment on one of your colleagues' posting. So theoretically, you're posting twice, and not necessarily for the first one, but for the remaining 5, you're actually posting twice. No problem. Okay, so the first discussion is not required. It just gives me an idea of what you think about why you need to take this course. But the remaining topics, there are 5 required topics, which you will make an original post. And if your classmates have posted something, you are to reply to one of their posts. So you are theoretically, let's take for instance, clinical applications of speech. You're going to respond to that question and then comment on another person's response. So you're posting twice per discussion question. So you will have 10 posts when all is finished with regard to discussions. The discussions are open. You can tackle those at any point. I'm sorry, Susan, which survey? Oh, the first one? Or the first question? Is that what you're referring to? Oh, no survey. Let's see, hold on. It may be something that, let me see, they've requested. No survey, Susan. Any other questions? I want you to consider using your mic. If you have one, it's not mandatory that you have one, but that may be helpful in me understanding actually what you're asking. If there are no other questions, let's see. Yes, you hit talk to do that. No problem.
So just to clarify for tonight, you'd like us to use the remainder of the class either to...
Okay. If there are, oops. See if I can get back. A video or between you and Sovereign PowerPoint? Meaning that in order for me to see you or for you to see me? With Blackboard, it's possible for you to see me. I sort of choose not to. And I'm not sure how it works for to view the whole class. If you if you think that would be helpful. Sure. It takes a minute. It takes about an hour for the system to archive the recording. And so when you log in to Blackboard, at the top you'll see Session tab and a Recording tab. You will click on the recording, but it usually takes about an hour for it to generate the recording.